Yes, lads, how are we doing? I'm currently in a Wetherspoons. I've been seeing recently a lot of this stuff going around on the internet about Looksmaxing with particular streamers trying to sell you guys a course or some sort of, program to help you guys actually start looking better and attracting more women. Now, I understand that obviously the particular people that are actually making these courses really just want to make some money themselves, and a lot of their kind of job is to actually sell people into their courses and actually make the money. I have a bit of insider actual information about this, where they're charging people between 2.5 and 5 grand for a Looksmaxing course to help people, attract more women and look more attractive in the world, basically. But the thing about this is that it's making men start obsess over their looks and how they are coming across into the world to kind of attract women in particular. And this kind of hyper analysis of facial features and like your bloody jaw structure and what your like inside of your under your eye and like the whether you have hunter eyes and all this bullshit is making men aware of their own insecurities and what problems that they are facing, basically. Now, I understand, coming from somebody that was very insecure of who I was and how I felt myself, I completely understand why this is attracting such a large audience, and can completely understand why it's so popular, because nowadays we're in a society of young men, of individuals that don't feel secure within themselves. They have nothing particularly going for themselves, so they look to the quickest option to attract the opposite sex. Now, the problem with this is that doing all these cosmetics and, bone mashing and making sure that like you're doing all these things to rewire how you look, it's completely unnatural. If we look back, what gender was the gender that actually like peacocked and did all these things to attract the opposite sex? It's females, it's not men. Men do not do this kind of stuff where they're kind of bone mashing and doing all this stuff to make themselves more attractive to the other sex through their physical appearance. Now, on the other hand, yes, you can get a good physique and get into physical fitness and become top of your game with your physical health. That is important, that's key. But my point here is these influencers that are trying to sell you these programs to, make you look better, and all you're really doing is just patching up an open wound with a bandage, and that wound is just going to continue bleeding out because you still are aware of your internal insecurities. There's this thing in Psycho-Cybernetics, a book, where these people got nose surgeries and their nose were like completely fucked to start off with, and then they got nose surgery and they felt no different after the surgery, because that insecurity that they had within themselves, they needed to face themselves rather than getting this kind of surgery to patch up how they felt. Now, the problem is that rather than, building real value as a man, which comes from many sort of aspects and facets of life, such as having competence in a particular area, having purpose and actual direction in your life, and having confidence and strong willingness within yourself, and knowing who you are, and being a leader, and also building on your physical fitness and being physically capable as a man. These are the things that actually build real attraction that help you stand out in a crowd. Because if we have a bunch of men nowadays that are going straight for this easy route of, you know, smashing their bone faces and trying to get hunterized and mewing all the time, it's just gay. It actually is just gay. There's no other word to put it other than just being gay. You're literally just doing stuff that is peacocking who you are to try and attract the opposite sex. Now, the funny thing about the world is that the harder you try and chase something, the more it actually runs away from you. So all of this stuff is just a cope to actually kind of like hide up your insecurities that you have within yourself, rather than actually looking inward and actually trying to conquer these kind of insecurities that you have within yourself. Because that's where real growth comes from at the end of the day. We're not women where we can just cover up our insecurities and like just put on some makeup and feel good. That's not how it is as a man, especially. We have to put in the work to uncover what our deepest kind of insecurities and ways we feel within ourselves, and then that's how we can, you know, feel powerful, because we're not hiding away from these insecurities. And just drink black coffee, boys. It's not hard. Like, for me personally, I struggled with how I felt within myself for many years of my life. Like, I was very, very insecure. And it's only really within the last couple of years that that's changed. I don't feel insecure within myself because I've put in the work to develop myself and actually become a better man. Now, yes, it's easy to fall down this easy path of, you know, looksmaxing and trying to find the quick fix for your life, but there is no quick fix. This is the problem with having just a constant generation of individuals that are just seeking dopamine. It's like you're literally wiring your brain to just look for the easy path every time, rather than looking to face any challenges that you have head on and doing whatever it takes, however long it takes to actually overcome this. Now, I have a couple notes written down here. Let me just check if I have actually like ticked all this. But literally, this entire industry is built off telling men that they're not good enough, that they need to work on themselves, to, you know, that their insecurities are bad, and that they need to, you know, that's how this industry is built, is by calling out people's insecurities within them and picking on that and making them basically feel bad for actually having these. But let me tell you right now that you're exactly where you need to be, and you was born exactly in the right place, and who you are right now is exactly right for your current situation. You don't need to be anybody else. Like, doing all this stuff where you're smashing your fucking bone marrow to dents in your jaw, like, that's not the way to do it. The way to have a defined jawline like this is by getting lean and going to the gym and actually looking after your health, not eating processed foods, and, you know, eating lean foods, that whole foods that actually are beneficial to your health. And also you'll get energy whilst doing that at the same time. So it's not like you don't have to do all this stuff. That's the annoying thing. It's like all these influencers are building their personal brands literally off basically picking off men's insecurities and feeding off that, and then their entire sales process, their entire marketing is channeled into picking on the insecurities of men and putting them through these programs that charge $5,000 over 6 months for them to have this miraculous transformation. And let me tell you the truth now, if you're going into this thinking that you're going to all of a sudden just be able to start chat to women, and then after this 6-month transformation you're going to be a completely different man, that's not true. It's like you're only basically putting on a bit of makeup to like patch up this wound that you feel within yourself. Them same insecurities that you have within yourself, you're going to still feel 6 months down the line if you don't go ahead and actually face them head on. So it is a very feminine thing to do, is just to like spend money on your appearance. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm wearing a nice quarter zip, I get haircuts on a regular basis, you know, I make sure that I look nice, but doing my hair takes me 30 seconds in the morning, and putting on nice clothes takes 30 seconds in the morning. It doesn't take long. I don't sit there for hours thinking about my bone structure and whether I can get rid of these, like this scar in my head, whether I can get rid of it, or how I can make my jaw more defined. The real growth comes from having competence in your own ability and knowing exactly who you are. Because then, if, for example, a girl comes into your life, you already know who you are, you already know exactly what you stand for, and one, that's attractive to a woman. But if she was to leave you, that's not her loss. You're the one winning, because you already know exactly who you are, and you can continue your you can continue on your path that you're on without this girl, without having to do all this like bone mashing and all this nonsense, really. And this is where the real like growth comes from as an individual, is having confidence within yourself and purpose, knowing exactly who you are, and not having to do all this stuff that's kind of patching up these kind of insecurities that you have within yourself. So yeah, boys, keep on the path that you're on. Remember, memento mori, as always, lads. Life is short, so get on your purpose and fucking start smashing it. I'll see you soon.